Pennies. I know I didn't throw up that much when I was a kid. They do. Yeah, they do. Voice of cards.
Look at Sissy's backpack.
Oh my god. Here, you can finish this one. You wanted a Pop-Tart? That's a Pop-Tart. Really?
pick up a scrap of paper dropped by some manner of monster. It has a message scrawled on it in crude lettering.
Oh, was it stolen treasure past cave and mountain near past cave?
Clearly, whoever dropped this message did not want to forget where the stolen treasure is hidden. You stash the scrap of paper in your pack and resolve to keep an eye out for the treasure on your travels.
Past cave. What?
You come across a gaping hole in the ground. A sign beside it depicts a piece of armor, followed by, "Do not drop this in the hole."
Huh?
It's only human to want to do exactly what you're told not to.
Drop the armor pictured.
However willing you might be, you don't have the armor depicted, so you walk away.
What is depicted in the armor? Moldering wood. Let's see if that's the. Let's do more exploring. Let's say something about past the cave. Let's see this. Past the cave and mountain. Oh, we can't do that. Can't go through the mountain. Singing. Only if you're gonna have some. Only if you're having some.
Good work.
He's so enthusiastic.
You can't walk on water.
Oh, is that what that is? Is that water? Charlotte, leave your sister alone. Charlotte, what did I just say? Leave her alone. Get your own coloring page. of num-nums. Treasure discovered. Okay, awesome. Got some thieves. Alright, so it's not beyond the cave. Stolen treasure.
A thick fog impedes your vision. You surmise this is in no small part why they call it the Bewildering Wood.
Eh.
Many a brave soul has set foot in this wood, only to be swallowed up and never seen nor heard from again, the traveler intones gravely. They also tell of a certain tool one needs to get through this place. A message is written on the sign. Seek out the forest stela hidden deep in these woods. You hear a beautiful melody flowing from the forest depths. It sounds like singing, or perhaps bird song. Your body is soothed by the gentle tone. It feels as though your fatigue has somehow washed away.
Yay.
You have found the northern stela. It doesn't look particularly special. You resolve to touch it anyhow. As you listen closely, you are struck by a sudden dizzy spell. You sense a presence growing closer, but cannot react. The grass rustles, then a monster slowly shows itself from between the blades. It's a harpy. Realizing you've been caught in the harpy's trap, you ready your weapons. For some time after that, you find yourself trembling at the mere sound of a bird's tweet.
Back to the church.
As if drawn in by the voice, you head deeper into the forest, where you find a woman playing a stringed instrument. Why won't the right words come to me, she laments, her fingers stopping on the strings. Hearing her sigh, you offer to help her with her song. Very well then. Please finish this verse, she responds, then begins to sing. imitate Mars' mule, but the woman just tilts her head to the side in confusion. You pity the poor soul for not comprehending the sheer cuteness of your dear companion. In the end, you gain nothing from the exchange and leave the woman to her song. You have found the Eastern Stela. You see the words Melody of Fortune chiseled into the corner. I need to hit the Stela every single time I want to go home. Ah, what a pain, the frowning woman sighs. The next Stela is... You hear someone murmuring? It sounds like a man, but you can't really be sure in these woods. Trees bearing very solid-looking nuts whip to and fro in the force of the gale. This doesn't bode well for you. A bunch of nuts fly off from the trees, but you and your friends hightailed it out of there before any of them could hit you. You have found the Southern Stela. You smack it and hear a sound off to the west. You'd best head that way next. We've already investigated this stealer. The words Melody of Fortune are rather conspicuously chiseled into the corner. Nice work. The man sighs, realizing he may never be able to escape with his current tool set. Congrats. You have found the Western Stela, which you swear up and down was not here when you came in. Nevertheless, you give it a smack. You have found all 4 of the Stela in the bewildering wood. On a perhaps related note, you hear a sound emanating from the east.
That sounds familiar.
Let's do this. You examine the stela. The message carved into the stela reads, "Play in tune with the forest." You hold the woodland flute you received from the good doctor in Thriston. Doot 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 doodly doot 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 doo. You blow a handful of pleasant enough notes into the woodland flute. You soon become aware of accompanying percussion, which reveals itself to be a series of impeccably timed footfalls racing toward you. A young woman appears before you. "That was absolutely dreadful," she whinges, her jaunty gait betraying her enjoyment. She calls herself Riddis and declares herself a woodlander, resident of the bewildering wood. By sheer coincidence, the flute on which you played those notes was one designed to call the woodland people to your side. What luck! She agrees far more readily than you ever anticipated. But, she continues, extending her hand, you'll have to hand over the woodland flute first. You hand over the flute, firmly restating that she may have it on the condition she leads you out of the bewildering wood. Riddis plucks the woodland flute out of your hands with glee and begins playing it as she skips away. Riddis makes it clear that the fastest way out of the woods is through woodland, where she lives. It's that-a-way, Riddis says gleefully, pointing past the stela before you. Welcome to Woodland, Riddis says, gesturing out over the village. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm quite busy for the rest of the day, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow to leave the forest, she says, and makes her way home. Welcome to the Forest Oasis, the man greets you warmly. You happen upon a man greedily guzzling well water. Could it truly be that much better than ordinary water? This shortcut is reserved for use by woodland citizens only, the guard barks, clearly unwilling to let you pass. Apparently she's heard rumors of the dragon destroying another town somewhere. Our village would burn down so easily, she mutters, perhaps a bit more afraid of the symptom than the cause. You learn that Riddis's family is mired in debt and living hand to mouth, and I know how they got in so much trouble, the rumor mongerer says deliciously. We are not in the business of meddling in the personal affairs of others, Melanie says curtly, cutting her off. Riddis pores over a book while practicing on the woodland flute. She remains dreadful at it. The instant you begin speaking, she nearly leaps out of her skin and hides the book. She somehow hadn't noticed you. I thought you were the debt collectors. You can't sneak up on me like that, she stammers, struggling to regain her composure. You take note of a woman who appears quite ill. As it turns out, she is none other than Riddis's mother. She is in no small amount of pain. Will you give her something to ease her suffering? The item you've proffered has no effect on her illness, but I appreciate the thought all the same, she says with a smile. Ridis's mother hands you mysterious card 3 as a token of her gratitude. She begins speaking of Ridis, who has been preparing the medicine that helps her get through the day. She blames her illness, and therefore herself, for making Ridis's life so difficult. The more she talks, the more her face drops. Welcome. 100 gold pieces will get you wherever you're headed. The master says as you set foot in the carriage, you will be instantly transported to any location you've previously visited. Travel for 100 gold pieces? And fight. Gradually become aware of a voice calling out to your party. Looking around, you spy an old man, a traveler like you, perhaps, stuck in a hole and flailing wildly. You yank the old man free. Oh, while you're here, would you mind taking me to Nexton, he asks. It seems an old friend of his lives in Nexton, and he'd like very much to see this chum. He says he'll make it worth your while. Will you show him the way to Nexton? You ask the old man about himself. It turns out he belongs to a wealthy family. Visions of lavish rewards begin to dance in your head. You offer him safe passage to Nexton. The wealthy old man looks considerably relieved as the party sets foot inside Nexton. He reaches into his pack and hands you a pouch full of gold. This is to be your reward, he says. The next instant, he takes off for the center of town, shouting, "I shall be there soon, my love." A place where human and monster coexist. Cypri sighs in longing. How I'd like to live there myself. The leaps and bounds my research would make. Been a while since we've had any outsiders, the innkeeper says, beckoning the party inside. It turns out this inn is simply a place where the poor, lost souls trapped in the bewildering wood may recover. You may stay as long as you like, free of charge. The wooden dining table practically groans under the weight of the platters upon it, all brimming with meats and vegetables from the bewildering wood. I've certainly earned this, you say to yourself, as you slide into your seat at the table, positively drooling over the feast before you. Melanie takes no note of your boorish behavior, uttering a small prayer of thanksgiving before reaching for a plate of vegetables. Mar sits, eyes fixed on the food upon the table, statuesque in his stillness. What a good boy. Mar clears the entire table in a matter of seconds, even emptying the water barrel in a single gulp. He lets out a self-satisfied burp that sends a small jet of just-drank water arcing out onto the floor. The sun sinks low, and the day draws to a close. A scream pierces the silence. Fire! You leap out of bed, adrenaline coursing through your veins. The others follow suit, and before long you've burst through the front door and into the street. Ridis's house is ablaze, a nearby villager screams. My mother is still inside, Ridis shrieks, darting past you to fetch water from the well south of the village. Ridis is gathering water in an attempt to fight the blaze all on her own. Melanie tosses a nearby bucket into the well and hauls it up by the rope. But she hasn't the strength to raise a full bucket out of the well. She releases the rope and examines her raw, reddened hands. None can say she did not try. Mar's eyes light up. He scrambles over the edge of the well and sucks the well dry in an instant. He pokes at his swollen belly and gestures toward Ridis's house, as if to say, "Get me back there, quick." Quickly, put it out. You have to put it out, Ridis screams at Mar. Mar douses the house with the water he sucked up from the well. The fire is reduced to mere embers, and all is well. Or so you think. Something darts out from behind the house and attacks. And fight. Fortune favors the bold. Nice work. The fiery beast dispatched, you return to putting out the last of the blaze with Mars' help. Ridis's mother, now safe, tells you the creature came out of nowhere and set the house aflame. What would bring a creature of fire to a place like this, you wonder? Light breaks on a new day, and the commotion of the fire feels but a nightmare. You lead your party to Ridis's house to ask for safe passage out of the bewildering wood. Though spared from complete collapse, Ridis's home has been thoroughly scorched. Ridis sits alone in one of its rooms, the air thick with the smell of char. There shouldn't be any fire creatures for miles, she grumbles. She says the monster appeared while she was playing the woodland flute last night. As to why any monsters, let alone fire monsters, appeared, well, despite the circumstances, you ask Ridis to lead you out of the bewildering wood as promised. I did promise that, didn't I? She says wearily, rising from her seat. The poor girl is clearly still in shock. Why do you want to venture out beyond the bewildering wood anyway? She inquires, as she gathers this and that in preparation to leave. We are in search of the dragon, you say valiantly, adding, the reward will be significant should we defeat him. Honesty is the best policy. Sounds like a real risky way to make a living, she replies flatly, feigning interest. A group of Ivory Order people came through here just the other day, she explains. You connect the dots with malice. Those three, you seethe. At last, Ridis is ready to depart for the edge of the bewildering wood. This road takes you to the east side of the bewildering wood, but you'd be hard-pressed to find your way without a woodlander's help, the guard warns. Upon seeing that Riddis is with you, he steps aside and lets you through. The eastern portion of the woods certainly does not want for thick, soupy fog. You turn away, ready to lead the party deeper into the bewildering wood. Wait just a moment, you lot, calls the voice of an older man from somewhere behind you. Riddis appears to be familiar with him. She calls him Mr. O. Here you are, young lady, he says, handing her a slip of paper. Oh dear. Further, Mr. O explains, Riddis did not have a fire insurance policy at the time of the conflagration, and so she shall have to pay in full. I'll thank you kindly to pay by the end of the month. Bye now, Mr. O says, receding from view as he returns to the forest. Hee hee. Riddis lets out a bemused chuckle, her demeanor remarkably calm for what has just transpired. She pulls the woodland flute from her cloak and begins softly playing. Riddis's ear-splitting performance, shall we say, draws monsters out from behind the trees. Within moments, they are nearly upon you. Don't hold back. That's odd. I must have made a mistake, Riddis says, burying her face in her old book once more. She opens the book to a particular page and thrusts it in your face. You can't tell anyone in the village I let you see this, okay? It's a page of sheet music, with a note scrawled beside it that reads, "Play this lucky tune to reverse your financial fortunes and make money woes a thing of the past." No matter how many times I played this last night, our debt never went down, she fumes, incensed. You inspect the page a bit more carefully. Off in a corner, in letters so small as to be illegible, another message reads, "May summon monsters if played incorrectly." You finally see that so long as Riddis holds the flute, this is nothing more than a monster conjuring melody. You snatch the woodland flute from her hands. You have lost your flute-playing privileges, you inform her. But I'll never escape from this mountain of debt without it, she cries, clearly still believing in the melody of fortune. Melanie quietly opines that while Riddis is many things, bright is not one of them. And fight. Excellent. did great. Let's do this. Nice work. Here, Ritis chirps, pushing overgrown boughs and shrubs aside. As she does, a hidden path out of the bewildering wood comes into view. At last, you are free of the bewildering wood. Praise the power of the woodlanders, you squeal in admiration of Ritis. She giggles bashfully. You've certainly kept your promise, you say. Thank you for showing us the way. I was hoping I could join you on your quest to defeat the dragon, Ritis suddenly blurts out. Takes out her old book and thrusts another page in your face. This week's creature of fortune is the dragon. Boons may befall those who encounter him. Melanie's jaw goes slack. What is the deal with this book? Melanie asks, bewildered. I can probably pay off my debt if we can just defeat the dragon, Ritis chirps, revealing her true intentions. No, I won't dilute my share of the riches any further. No more additions to the party, you bark. Have you no heart? Are you just going to leave a young, helpless girl like me to drown in an ocean of debt and deal with that crusty old man? Ritis fires back relentlessly. I want to go. No. So goes the endless chorus of your thoroughly unproductive argument. Melanie calmly reminds you that the party, in its current form, stands little chance of defeating the dragon. See? You need me, Ritis says, sensing an opportunity. Your well-reasoned argument of no thwarted, you nod your head in resignation and welcome Ritis to the party.
With
Fortune favors the bold. Let's head to Unionville first, shall we? You see something approaching from up ahead. A monster, Melanie shouts, readying for battle. Mr. Flobby, get back here. It's dangerous out there, a young girl chides, taking the creature back to the village. It seems you've finally arrived at Unionville, a village where humans and monsters live together in peace. What a weird place, remarks Riddis lightheartedly. We aren't staying a moment longer than necessary, says an unsettled Melanie, her distaste for monsters plain on her face. The woman frowns deeply, claiming the cakes she bought for her beloved furball have all been eaten by someone else. A quiet furball sits with crumbs around its mouth. The child says his monster friend left the village suddenly to go back home. He claims the headman told him that he could go home when he grew up too. The little orc child pouts, but I don't know where my home is. You ask the old man if he knows anything about the dragon. No, sir, he answers. All I know is that it brings more trouble to this already troubled world. But our headman is a wise and worldly man. He might know something, he remarks, pointing at a house not far away. The little goblin sulks as he gazes upon the withering flowers he tried so desperately to take care of. He looks at you with tears in his eyes, silently begging you for help. You pour the salve onto the flowers, and they stand up tall. The goblin cries out in happiness and thanks you for your help. He then holds something out to you. The goblin stares lovingly at the beautiful flowers and gobbles them up. Healthy flowers are the tastiest, he proclaims in glee. Did he grow those flowers just to eat them? A young boy wanders up to your group in wide-eyed wonder. You surmise his curiosity stems from the lack of travelers visiting the village. You realize you are right when he assails you with questions about your origins and adventures. The Inquisition leaves you exhausted. However does your mouth become so filthy, Mr. Flobby? Sighs the girl as she wipes the slime clean. Clearly embarrassed, Mr. Flobby murmurs, "That's not my mouth." The little orc child is engrossed in a fairy tale. The title reads, "The Legend of the Dragon." You take a peek into the picture book and come across a passage that piques your interest. To where, you wonder? Then recall that this is merely a fairy tale. Lately, a suspicious man cloaked in black has been seen wandering about the village outskirts. The old woman looks at Melanie and remarks that he was dressed just like her. "Wow, a new friend, and so big, too," the furball exclaims in glee as it rushes over to Mar. Mar stares off into the distance as the furball snuggles up to his leg. For some reason, Riddis joins in on the cuddling. The village headman is a renowned gourmet, and rumor has it he only dines on the finest foods. The man says he wishes he too could have such a lavish meal just once in his life, his deep desire for delicacies only growing with time. "Travelers," you hear a voice call from somewhere. "Down here, at thy feet." You look down to see a small clump of fur by your boots. The clump of fur speaks. "I am Lappy, and I should like to journey forth with thee." Lappy the furball looks at you with amiable expectations. "Of course, the more the merrier," you exclaim, pumping your fist energetically into the air. But Melanie coldly interjects, "No, I can't trust monsters." Thoroughly rejected by Melanie, Lappy bursts into tears. Lappy says he has no friends because of his aged face and speech. All alone, he decided to leave the village on a journey. Your party is silenced by the crying child with the face of a grown man. You tell Melanie to be nice and quip that both she and Lappy could use a friend. Exhausted from arguing with you, Melanie half-heartedly agrees. "Fine, we can be friends." However, she says that they are on a dangerous journey to defeat the dragon. As such, they cannot take a child with them. Lappy leaps up and hugs her in his excitement, exclaiming, "Thou hast made me so happy." "Till next time," Melanie says, peeling Lappy off of her and placing him on the ground. Though she thought all monsters to be evil, Melanie feels that the ones here are different. Finally, a friend. You bow, but before you can speak, the man suddenly introduces himself as the village headman. He laughs, then shamelessly praises his own village as being wondrous and peaceful. "And who are you?" he asks. After explaining that you are on a quest to defeat the dragon, the headman invites you to rest your feet a bit in his village. He says that he had heard rumors of the dragon when he traveled the world. You must be tired from your journey. Have a seat. I will have my chef prepare a feast, the headman says, then claps his hands twice to summon a stewardess. Extravagant dishes that you have never seen before are placed on the table before you, each one looking more delicious than the last. You're drooling, Melanie scowls. You hadn't even noticed. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve, then gasp as you turn to Mar. Perhaps in an attempt to hold himself back, Mar is gnawing on the table corner. There. We'll eat soon, you reassure Mar while gently stroking his head. The doors fly open in the next instant, and a girl runs in. With tears in her eyes, she tells you that her dear companion, Mr. Flobby the Slime, is missing. The headman's eyes go wide in surprise. We must find that slime right away, he says anxiously. You are starving. But it doesn't look like you'll be able to partake of the feast before you because of Mr. Flobby's disappearance. We will find your slime, and then we feast, you add quietly. Melanie reminds you that you are here to get clues about the dragon from the headman. What's the difference? Literally everything. Hunger taking its toll, you two begin to argue. Brave heroes, the headman interjects, then bows his head. Would you please find her slime? It appears the story has hit a standstill until you find the missing Mr. Flobby. You need to hear the whole story from the young girl. The girl sobs, wailing about the missing Mr. Flobby. Melanie places her hand atop the girl's head and promises that your party will find her companion. The girl then hands something to Melanie. It looks like the muddy handkerchief she used to wipe Mr. Flobby. She asks Melanie to wipe Mr. Flobby with it after you find him. The girl claims to have searched the village but cannot find her friend anywhere. Regardless, looking aimlessly outside the village would be a waste of time. You decide to collect more information in the village. Melanie's friend Lappy is here. Lappy cuddles up to Melanie. Despite her hatred of monsters, Melanie doesn't seem to mind. Having no interest in children's picture books, you continue on your way. She says she saw a suspicious man in black with a slime outside the village not long ago. She claims they went northwest together. Did that man take Mr. Flobby? You resolve to leave the village in search of the pair. As you make your way to the coast, a piece of paper nearly smacks you in the face as it blows past. You snatch it out of the air. It depicts a woman standing before a sunset. She smiles sweetly at you. Examining the background of the picture closely, you spot a lighthouse in the distance. Written on the other side of the paper is a single word. My darling dearest, I give you my love, my treasure, my everything. The only word you need to see, really. Treasure. Certain you'll come across it in your travels, you stuff the picture into your pack for safekeeping. About the enemy. Though a torch is not strictly necessary, it would certainly help you find your way through the dimly lit shrine. Your footing is obscured in the dimness of the shrine. You should probably proceed with caution. Though I understand your urge to hurry on ahead. You go forth slowly but steadily, taking it one step at a time. You take a good look at the floor and see it lined in trails of viscous liquid. No doubt a slime or 200 have passed through here. It looks like poor Mr. Flobby is being held captive by the mystery man. Hand over that slime, you shout to the man in the dark. You speak as if I kidnapped him, he remarks, curtly turning to face you. When your eyes finally adjust to the surrounding darkness, you realize the man's clothes look eerily similar to Melanie's. Melanie's mouth falls open in surprise. It seems the man has noticed Melanie as well. It looks like the two know each other. The man says that he and Melanie came from the same village, where this was their native dress. The man's revelation makes you realize that you know almost nothing about Melanie's past. You ask Melanie about her hometown, but she holds her tongue. Then the man speaks. With forbidden magic, our clan has ensured the dragon, he begins, when Melanie cuts in. She rattles on about the man, telling you that he is Vince, a lunatic obsessed with the dragon. Vince resentfully claims that he is searching for the noble dragon to protect it. You ran away from home with your tail between your legs, he ridicules. Enraged, Melanie lunges at Vince. You have so many questions, but realize that the most pressing matter is getting Mr. Flobby back. So you ready for battle? Careful, he won't go down easy. During the fight, Vince asks, "Do you know the truth about that village?" The headman may look like a nice old man, but he keeps those little monsters around too. He begins, but before he can finish, Winifred, Hedwin, and Berwin of the Ivory Order appear. The three brush you aside, fixing their attention on Vince. "So you are the one who disturbs the peace," they exclaim, then charge at him. The Ivory Order and that false justice they serve are the true evil here, he retaliates, fighting back. Seeing the two parties occupied with each other, you realize this is your chance to grab Mr. Flobby. Perhaps wary of humans, Mr. Flobby dashes out when you draw near. When you reach out to grab Mr. Flobby, he suddenly attacks. Lower Mr. Flobby's stamina to calm him down. Exhausted from the fight, the raging Mr. Flobby finally stops attacking. But it seems he hasn't yet come to his senses. He glares warily at your party, finds something to help return Mr. Flobby to normal. You wipe Mr. Flobby's mouth with the handkerchief you received from the girl. Then you hear a quiet voice speak. "That's not my mouth," Mr. Flobby murmurs bashfully. It looks like the girl's familiar scent on the handkerchief returned him to normal. Having regained his senses, Mr. Flobby heads back to the village. You place the increasingly sticky handkerchief in your bag. Lappy approaches and tells you that Mr. Flobby has returned. The girl is ecstatic that Mr. Flobby is finally back home. "I'm happy for you," Melanie says with a smile as she returns the handkerchief. The girl bows her head and thanks you deeply. Mr. Flobby looks as slimy as ever. You just hope it's a happy slime. The headman wants us to bring Mr. Flobby to him. Would you mind, you ask? Of course not. But bring him back soon, she answers with a bright smile. I am so happy to see you safe and sound, the headman exclaims, giving Mr. Flobby a hug. You explain everything that happened, including the incident with Vince and the Ivory Order. He expresses his relief that the Order will be taking care of the criminal. He then thanks you for your hard work and instructs his stewardess to prepare dinner for your party. You can feel your collective mouths watering at the sight of the lavish meal before you. You, Mar, and Ridis immediately dig in. You aren't sure where you find a moment to breathe among all the feasting. Please, eat to your heart's content, the headman insists with a smile. Once your belly is full, you realize that Mr. Flobby is gone. And then... Room for dessert? The headman asks, offering you a plate of slimy jelly. You feel your stomach churning at the very sight of it. The color strikes you as familiar, and the stickiness sends a shiver down your spine. Is this Mr. Flobby? You ask the headman, your voice trembling in disbelief. The headman looks at you with a plain expression, one that holds no malice. Is that a problem? He questions back. This dish is a masterpiece, he remarks with a light-hearted chuckle as he gazes at the jelly. And I have you brave heroes to thank for it. Had you not brought that slime back, we would not be able to enjoy this exquisite dessert. You move to leave, but the headman stops you. I try to get my meat while it's still young and tender, but at least your pet is very plump, he remarks, licking his lips. He points at Mar and asks, would you consider leaving that creature here with me? Never, you refuse flatly, not bothering to hide your discomfort. Think about it, he entreats. And then you grab the headman by his lapels, hands trembling in fury. And fight. Pummel the headman with all your might. Curled up on the ground, the headman groans in pain, but insists that monsters were meant to be eaten. You hug Mar tightly, reassuring him that you will not hand him over to anyone. Mar looks at you with his round eyes and mews softly. You meet eyes with the rest of your party and reach a tacit agreement. Together, you all stand and leave. As you are about to leave the headman's house, though, the old man suddenly charges at you from behind. But Mar, the keener of you two, is quick to block his path. With a crash, Mar and the headman tumble to the ground. From the headman's hand falls a small blade. It clatters to the ground, covered in blood. You take the injured Mar to an inn where you can watch over him. You gaze at the unconscious Mar with concern. Despite the shallow wound, no amount of medicine seems to rouse Mar from the bed. I heard that my friends were in danger, so I came as quickly as I could, Lappy says. As he reaches Mar's bedside, he leans over and licks his wound. "This is what-you-call-it extract," he shouts. He explains that it is a poison extracted from a certain monster. If it enters the body, it drastically reduces one's stamina. Hearing those words, you realize the headman's blade must have been coated in this poison. Mars, isn't there anything we can do? Melanie asks. Lappy's eyes widen in realization before he places his mouth over Mar's wound and begins sucking. He then puts the what-you-call-it extract into a bottle and hands it to you. Lappy says that if you follow the road south of the village, you will reach Shoreland. He tells you to give the extract to the famous nutritionist there. Realizing that you are at fault for this, you don't hesitate to undertake the quest. But this is strange. The extract comes from a monster, so it should have no effect on one, Lappy remarks with a curious tilt of his head. I thought a beast of that size would eat us out of house and home, she remarks, no doubt talking about Mar.
Alright, with the new chapter, I'm going to end the stream here, and definitely want to continue the story. I'll admit, it's very, very linear. Very Final Fantasy classic. So, we'll leave it here. The funny thing is, I keep doing this, and I'm like, how do I... even with the funny thing is, even with the demo game, there was no exit game option. No way to end the game. Exit game, end the game. There's no. Or do I just? Let's just. And no way to get out of here. There's no way to get back to the title screen? No way to get back to the title screen. Why not? There is. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and end here. Definitely gonna continue another day, another evening. Yeah. Actually, hold on. Is anyone else? Anyone else streaming out of this? No one to raid. Ooh, the mid-tubers are on.